Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. This one is personal. What happens when the person you think you know turns out to be someone else entirely? I guess I should start from the beginning. My name is Charlie, and for 3 years I was in love with a woman named Yvonne. Not just love, I was sure she was my future. I wasn't looking for love when I met her, but sometimes life hands you something so good, you just know you'd be an idiot to let it go. We met at a volunteer event. I wasn't expecting much, just another Saturday helping out. Then I saw her. She was handing out bottled water to the volunteers, smiling, laughing, and making conversation. And when our eyes met, I swear it was like time slowed down. Cheesy, right? But that's how it felt. We started talking, and it was effortless. No awkward small talk, no forcing conversation, it was just easy. We found out we had a lot in common. Both of us valued kindness, both of us loved to travel, and both of us believed in giving back. By the end of that event, I knew I wanted to see her again. And from that moment on, Yvonne became a part of my life. 3 years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. We built something strong. We went on trips, made plans, met each other's families. She became my best friend. And when the time felt right, I got down on one knee and asked her to be my wife. She said yes, and I thought I had won the jackpot. The months that followed were a whirlwind of wedding planning. We picked a venue, made guest lists, and argued over the little things that wouldn't even matter a year from now. It was stressful, sure, but at the end of the day, I was just excited to marry the woman I loved. Life felt perfect. I had no idea it was all about to fall apart. But it did. And when it did, it destroyed everything. A month before the wedding, Yvonne brought up the idea of a girls' trip to Miami. She framed it as one last getaway with her closest friends before becoming a married woman. At first, I hesitated, not because I didn't trust her, but because we were knee-deep in wedding plans, and taking off for a week felt like a distraction. But she reassured me. She wasn't going alone. She'd be with friends I knew, girls I'd met at gatherings, some even at our engagement party. They weren't just her friends. They were part of our circle. So, I gave her my blessing. In fact, I encouraged it. I figured it would be a good way for her to unwind from all the stress of planning a wedding. If I was being honest, she had been carrying a lot on her shoulders. Between picking a venue, dealing with guest lists, and managing family expectations, I could see the pressure weighing on her. If a few days in the sun with her friends would help her relax, why not? Relationships are built on trust, and I trusted Yvonne completely. The morning of her flight, I drove her to the airport. She was excited, dressed in a light summer outfit, sunglasses perched on her head, already in vacation mode. Before she walked into the terminal, she kissed me and told me she loved me. I watched her disappear into the crowd, never imagining that this trip would change everything. Wanting to do something special for her, I decided to book our honeymoon as a surprise. She had always dreamed of visiting Santorini, so I locked in a luxury resort with a private ocean view. It wasn't cheap, but I wanted to give her the perfect start to our married life. As I clicked confirm on the reservation, I smiled, imagining how happy she'd be when I told her. I had no idea that while I was planning our future, she was busy destroying it. 5 days into her trip, I was at home, exhausted from handling some last-minute wedding logistics, when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Normally, I ignore those assuming it's spam, but something made me open it. The message was short, brutal, and gut-punching. You're a fool. You're wasting money on a wedding while Yvonne is having the time of her life with another man. I frowned. Before I could even process the words, a series of videos loaded beneath the text. My hands felt clammy as I tapped the first one. There she was, Yvonne, on a dimly lit dance floor, wearing a tight dress. Her arms were wrapped around some random guy, her body pressed against his as she swayed to the music. She was drunk, laughing, her head thrown back as she ground on him. My throat went dry, but it didn't stop there. The next video showed her on the beach, curled up next to a different guy, their legs tangled in the sand, his hands tracing circles on her skin. She wasn't resisting. She wasn't pulling away. If anything, she looked comfortable, like this was normal for her. Then came the screenshots. A group chat. Her friends joking about her wild night. They weren't surprised. They weren't concerned. They were egging her on. One of them even typed, "Girl, you're having too much fun. Charlie better not find out." My entire body went cold. For a few minutes, I considered calling her. I wanted to demand an explanation, to hear her stammer out some excuse. But something in me held back. I needed more than just blurry videos from an unknown number. If this was real, I needed undeniable proof. And more than that, I needed to know who had sent me these videos in the first place. Someone wanted me to see this. Someone wanted to expose Yvonne. But why? I started by tracing the number. It wasn't hard. A few online tools, a little digging, and I had my answer. The messages had come from one of Yvonne's own friends. Someone who had gone on that trip with her. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't just some outsider trying to ruin my life. This was personal. One of her own people had turned against her. I took a deep breath and sent a text on her Instagram handle, because we follow each other. No anger, no accusations, just direct. "I know it was you." The response came almost instantly. "Are you texting to thank me for saving you?" This girl wasn't playing games. She had done this for a reason, and she wanted me to understand why. "Prove these aren't fake," I typed back. She didn't argue. Instead, she sent more. More videos. More pictures. More truth. The first one hit me like a gut punch. Yvonne, sitting on a guy's lap, her arms draped around his neck, her lips pressed to his. Then came the recordings. In one, it sounds like she was sitting around with her friends, laughing and saying, I love Charlie, but his family? God, they're so annoying. His mom is always acting like she's better than everyone. And his sister? Please. If she wasn't his sister, I wouldn't even talk to her." I felt my chest tighten. These were the people who had welcomed her in like family, who had treated her like one of their own. And here she was, laughing at them behind their backs. But the next recording was worse. Look, it was just a one-night thing. I was drunk, he was hot, and it was Miami. It's not like I'm gonna marry the guy. Besides, it's not that deep. I stopped breathing. My ears were ringing. I had to play it again, just to make sure I heard it right. But there was no mistaking her voice. I had one last conversation with a friend who sent me everything. I called her up, and she answered almost immediately, like she'd been expecting it. So I said, voice tight, "Why?" She didn't hesitate. "Because you deserve to know." I waited, but she kept going. "Yvonne acts like she's better than everyone. Like she's this perfect, loyal girlfriend when she's really just selfish." I was sick of it. She talks down to me, talks down to her other friends, and she sure as hell doesn't respect you. So yeah, I exposed her. She wasn't apologetic. If anything, she sounded like she'd been waiting to do this for a long time. But it wasn't about me. It was about her own resentment toward Yvonne. I had my proof. And now I had a decision to make. When Yvonne came back from Miami and we met, she hugged me, kissed me, told me she missed me. She even brought back souvenirs, some cheap keychains, and a t-shirt with "I Red Heart Miami" printed on it. I stood there, watching her, listening to her talk about how relaxing the trip was, how she needed that break before the wedding. She was lying. I knew she was lying. And the worst part? She had no idea that I knew. I kept my expression calm, nodded when I needed to, even forced a small smile when she made a joke. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of an argument. No, I was going to let her believe everything was normal. I was going to let her believe that she got away with it. That was the only way this would work. So I played along. When she talked about wedding details, I acted excited. When she showed me the final seating chart, I pretended to care. When she asked about my suit fitting, I told her I'd take care of it. Every moment was a test of my patience, but I refused to crack. Making sure everything was set up exactly the way I wanted it. Because while she was picking flower arrangements, I was making my own plans she would never see coming. The night before the wedding, I sat down with my family, my parents, my siblings, the people who actually loved me. I showed them everything. The videos, the recordings, the texts. I didn't have to say much after that. My mother's face turned pale, my father's jaw tightened, and my sister muttered something under her breath that I won't repeat here. They were angry, but more than that, they were heartbroken for me. They wanted me to call it off immediately, to confront Yvonne right then and there. But I told them no. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it my way. I looked each of them in the eye and gave a simple instruction: don't show up tomorrow. They didn't argue. They understood. And just like that, the stage was set. Yvonne went to bed that night thinking she was waking up to the happiest day of her life. She had no idea she was about to experience the most humiliating day of hers, and the most freeing day of mine. The next day, I imagine the church looked perfect that morning. White flowers lining the aisle, soft music playing, guests dressed in their finest, all waiting for the big moment. Yvonne's family must have been buzzing with excitement, exchanging smiles, shaking hands, talking about how beautiful she was going to look. Her bridesmaids were probably hyping her up, fixing the final touches on her dress, making sure every detail was perfect. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. But there was just one problem. There was no groom. At first, it probably didn't seem like a big deal. Yvonne must have checked her phone, expecting a quick "on my way" text. But there was nothing. She tried calling. No answer. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. I saw them and ignore every one of it. I pictured as time kept passing. The guests started noticing something was off. The whispers spread like wildfire through the pews. She kept calling, dialing my number over and over, leaving voicemails, first confused, then worried, then desperate. But I never answered. Because by the time she was standing there in that wedding dress, surrounded by hundreds of people waiting for a ceremony that would never happen, I was already gone. Bags packed, somewhere far away where she would never find me. As the realization set in, her entire world must have come crashing down. Her perfect day had turned into a nightmare, and all she could do was break down in the middle of it. The weight of her actions had finally caught up to her, and for the first time, she had no control over the outcome. She had made her choices. Now, she had to live with them. I don't know exactly how it happened, but I later found out that someone from my family leaked everything. The videos, the recordings, the group chats. I never planned for that part, but honestly, I wasn't mad about it. Once the truth got out, there was no controlling the damage. Yvonne went from being the happy bride-to-be to the woman everyone whispered about behind her back. The same people who once congratulated her on our engagement were now side-eyeing her in public, avoiding her calls, and treating her like a stranger. The story spread fast, faster than I expected. Wedding guests, mutual friends, people from work, they all saw her for exactly who she was. She tried to do damage control, of course. She reached out to people probably trying to explain herself, make excuses, maybe even spin the story in her favor. But the evidence was too overwhelming. There was no way to twist it. The videos showed her actions. The recordings caught her words. No one had to guess or speculate. She was guilty in broad daylight. And the worst part? She knew it. Yvonne had always cared about appearances, about being admired and respected. Now, she had neither. She called me nonstop, sent text after text, left long voicemails where she started off demanding answers and ended up crying, saying she needed to talk, that it wasn't what it looked like. I never responded. Not once. What was there to say? She wasn't sorry she did it. The anger, the heartbreak, the humiliation, it was still there, but at least I wasn't trapped in it anymore. I wasn't in the same city as the woman who betrayed me, and that was enough. Looking back, I learned a lot from this. First, never ignore red flags just because you love someone. Love doesn't excuse disrespect. Second, trust is everything. The moment someone breaks it, it's almost impossible to fix. And third, never be so blinded by love that you forget to protect yourself. I gave Yvonne my trust, my future, and my loyalty. She threw it away in a drunken weekend in Miami. That was her choice. But mine was to walk away and never look back. She made her choice. I made mine. And now, I don't exist in her world anymore. What do you guys think? Did I do the right thing by leaving without a word? Or should I have confronted her? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, I want to hear your story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.